I tossed a coin into the wishing well, wishing to score the hot guy who owns this homestay. The next morning, I opened my eyes to find the owner right beside me. After ruthlessly plucking this flower, I heartlessly cast him aside. 2 months later, he transformed into my client boss. This is as far as the car can go. The taxi driver heartlessly dumped me and my luggage on the side of the road. After paying the fare, I dialed the number of the guy from the homestay who was supposed to pick me up. Your place is a bit hard to find. Dragging 2 suitcases as tall as my waist, I stepped into the slippery mud left by the recent rain. The heel of my white leather high heels immediately sank into the dirt. Damn it. Honestly, my next words almost blurted out. Double quotes ... stay where you are. I'll come get you. A deep, magnetic voice with a hint of coolness came through the phone. The commanding tone was unexpectedly a bit domineering. How to put it? It just sounded like a handsome guy. The anger that had just begun to rise instantly subsided. I cleared my throat. All right. 3 minutes later, a man in a grey sweatshirt appeared before me. He looked about 1.85 meters tall, with fair skin, single eyelids that slanted slightly upward at the corners. His eyelashes were dark and thick, creating a natural eyeliner effect, but his irises were a light brown, clear like glass marbles. Black, slightly messy hair fell over his moderately defined brow bone. So handsome. Totally my ideal type. Sorry for the wait. He glanced at me, seemed to pause for a second, then quickly picked up my suitcases. One in each hand, turning around. He made it look effortless. Nice. Good muscle definition too. Following behind him, I smoothed my hair. Just as I was about to catch up, I forgot my shoe was still stuck in the mud. I pitched forward. My knees hit the muddy ground, and in the process, one hand grabbed onto the handsome guy's black cargo pants and yanked them down. Turns out handsome guys like pink too. I mean the underwear. Name. The handsome guy sat behind the front desk, looking not too pleased. But that probably wasn't because of me, right? Jiang Yan. I stared straight at his face, answering obediently. What to do? He looks even more handsome up close. ID number. And you? We spoke at the same time. What's your name? I repeated. The guy looked up, his deep brown eyes locking directly onto mine. I felt myself falling right in. Please cooperate with the check-in procedure first, Miss Jiang. His expression was cold, but his lips were rosy, giving off a mix of innocence and allure. Okay. I agreed with a smile. After finally filling in all the check-in information, I fished out my ID card, placed it on the counter, and slid it over to him with 2 fingers. A smooth, practiced move. Most men would fall for it. But this guy picked it up, glanced at it seemingly casually, and then let out a soft laugh. Instantly, my competitive spirit was ignited. What's so funny? A photo from 10 years ago I've been too lazy to change. Is it that hilarious? I subtly straightened my back. What are you laughing at? His fair fingers were tapping on the keyboard, making crisp sounds. Hearing me, he looked up. Nothing. Just thought Miss Jiang photographs well. Damn it. A psychic attack. This pickup guy holds a serious grudge. So what if I saw his underwear color? Targeting a guest like this. On the surface, I kept smiling. But once back in my room, I immediately opened the homestay's official info. Swiped through the screen, found the owner's number, and dialed. Think you're slick? I'll complain about you. I put it on speaker, threw the phone on the bed, and turned to take off my clothes stained with mud. Hello, the owner answered. You're... Before I could finish, I realized the voice was incredibly familiar. Anything else, Miss Jiang? There was a hint of laughter in the voice on the other end. To my ears, it was dripping with sarcasm. Squatting on the floor, I was momentarily speechless. If there's nothing else, open the door. I'm right outside. I sprang up, haphazardly pulling a piece of clothing from my suitcase to put on. Well, a light grass-green silk camisole nightgown. I rushed to the mirror to hastily reapply my lipstick, smacking my lips a couple of times. An undeniable, drop-dead gorgeous woman. Confidence restored, I walked to the door and opened it. What is it? The handsome guy looked me up and down, his eyes full of teasing. Your ID card. He pinched the ID between 2 fingers, holding it before my eyes. I snatched it quickly, but he lingered, seeming hesitant. Something else? I thought gleefully, he's interested after all. Men, all the same. Miss Jiang, remember this. Some things are better left unsaid. What things? The fact I saw his underwear. Oh, the pink underwear, huh? NPH. I glanced left and right, just in time to see a woman's figure appear at the end of the hallway, and deliberately raised my voice. He stepped forward into my room and covered my mouth with his hand. Instantly, the faint scent of white tea enveloped me. The thin fabric of my top pressed tightly against him. Song Sinian? A woman's voice came, footsteps approaching from afar. Pressed against the door by the man in front of me, his hand over my mouth. The back of the camisole nightgown had a lot of exposed design. My back was firmly against the cool wooden door. I struggled, glaring at him fiercely, but he didn't budge. The person looked around, didn't find anyone, and went downstairs after a moment. Song Sinian took a step back, releasing me. Sorry. Sorry? I raised a hand to cover the exposed front of my chest, almost laughing in anger. It was an emergency. He lowered his gaze slightly. Whether he realized how inappropriate his actions were, a faint, barely noticeable, very subtle pink hue appeared on his cheeks. I took 2 steps forward, staring intently at his face. Are you blushing? He turned his face away, his handsome brows furrowing. No. Understanding dawned on me, the corners of my mouth lifting. That woman just now, wasn't she your girlfriend, was she? He had regained his cold demeanor, sounding impatient. None of your business. With that, he pulled the door open to leave. Boss Song? He stopped, tilting his head. I took 2 steps forward, gently raising my hand to touch his shoulder, then sliding it down. He seemed to freeze for a moment. I stopped at his collar, gave a sharp tug, and came away with a small, dried clump of mud. You want your girlfriend to see this, Boss Song? I held up the mud, a smirk on my lips. He snorted lightly, a glint seeming to appear in his eyes. What do you want? Be my tour guide. He seemed to think for a second. What's in it for me? I rolled my eyes, thinking I'm definitely not the one losing out here. As long as it's not too much, name your price. He glanced at me, a sly glimmer flashing in his eyes, and let out a contemptuous chuckle. Deal. This homestay had a 3-star rating on a certain group buying app. Out of 5 stars. Coming here was a last-minute decision. Now lying in bed, I idly scrolled through the reviews. 1 star. Owner has a terrible attitude. Handsome, sure, but doesn't know how to deal with people. 5 stars. Owner is so handsome. Will come again. 2 stars. The focus of a homestay is service attitude. The one above, who only cares about looks, should go pick up guys at a nightclub. Seems I'm not the only one who thinks Song Sinian has a bad attitude. But no matter how you look at it, it feels like his business is purely surviving on the owner's handsome face. Time passed quickly. As the sky darkened, I realized I'd spent 2 hours scrolling through social media on my phone. This place has evening music events, at the bar behind the small garden on the 1st floor. Remembering a comment I'd just read, I suddenly became interested. Rolling off the bed, I grabbed my lipstick, swiped it on a couple of times, and 2 minutes later appeared in the small garden on the 1st floor of the homestay. From a distance, I heard guitar chords coming from ahead, followed by ahem, sounds checking the mic. The voice was slightly low in tone, like a summer's passionate call or an iced drink scorching, yet carrying a hint of aloof coolness. Song Sinian started singing just as I sat down on a chair not far from him. He glanced at me, then continued singing indifferently. A breeze through the cracks of time, I still remember your voice and face. As the song ended, I was the first to start clapping. Sinian J. A woman's voice came from behind me. I turned to see a woman in a white dress standing behind me, though I hadn't noticed when she arrived. He put down his guitar and stepped off the small stage. Seriously? Drama already? I speculated about their relationship. It didn't look like boyfriend-girlfriend. But I didn't expect Song Sinian to walk straight up to me and stop. He smiled beautifully, the curve of his lips incredibly affectionate, which genuinely startled me. Yanyam. Getting caught up in drama, I started myself. This was a first for me. Before I could react and ask what was going on, he frowned slightly at me, reached out to pull me close by the shoulder, and leaned in to whisper in my ear. "This is my condition." I caught on quickly. Damn. I shouldn't have let him make any request. I, Jiang Yan, have always flitted through flowers without a single leaf clinging to me. Now I'm the homewrecker ruining someone else's relationship. The girl's expression shifted quickly from shock to despair. Sinian J. Who is she? As you can see, she's the girlfriend I told you about. You're lying to me. No. His tone was icy, paired with that foul expression, making him look quite intimidating. Tears already welled up in the girl's eyes. I felt a bit bad, like I'd become an unforgivable sinner alongside Song Sinian. Before I could even offer her a tissue, she turned and ran out. Zhao Zheng, an employee standing nearby, suddenly took a big step, and in a flash, rushed past me to chase after her. Song Sinian let go of me, stepping back to put distance between us. What's going on? I asked, crossing my arms. He pursed his lips, glanced around at the other people in the room, looked into the distance and said, "Come with me." Buking Town had a locally famous wishing well. It was said that if you sincerely tossed a coin into it, your wish would come true. I naturally didn't believe it. Since childhood, I've been a firm materialist. If Song Sinian hadn't brought me here, I wouldn't have made a special trip. So this is where the wishing well is. He walked ahead on his own and sat on the marble edge of the well. "Thanks for earlier," he said abruptly. "Boss Song, toying with a young girl's feelings, huh?" I sat down close to him, my tone laced with sarcasm. He gave me a look and pulled a lighter from his pocket, fiddling with it in his hand. "She's my older brother's wife's younger sister. She said she'd give up if I had a girlfriend. I didn't want to waste her time." Older brother's wife's younger sister? So his sister-in-law's sister. So your sister-in-law's sister is chasing you. You couldn't refuse her. And you used me as a scapegoat. I quickly pieced the story together. He was silent for a few seconds, then suddenly straightened up and looked at me. "I'll be your tour guide." Somehow, I could see a hint of "you're getting a good deal" in his eyes. Well, I'm truly honored. I glanced sideways at the lighter he kept holding. But Boss Song has so many admirers. Won't the pressure be too much for me? Can you let me cut in line? I deliberately leaned closer to him as I spoke. He didn't say anything. I smiled, thinking teasing him was fun. Standing up, I looked at the wishing well behind me. There aren't as many people here as I heard online. Boss Song, is it really that effective? Song Sinian nodded slightly. Try it. I felt my pocket. I happened to have a couple of coins from exchanging money with an elderly person recently. I hope. I held the coin between both hands, closed my eyes, and silently made a wish. Hope for what? Since my parents passed away, I haven't seriously made a wish like this. I, Jiang Yan, have looks, I have a figure, and I don't lack money, those external things. Right now, there is one thing I'm interested in. I hope I can successfully sleep with Song Sinian before I leave. I opened my eyes. The coin drew a beautiful arc in the air and plopped into the water, sinking to the bottom. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the thin gauze curtains I'd drawn, softly falling on my face. I lifted my eyelids, wanting to stretch my arms out from under the covers, but unexpectedly touched something slightly hard beside me. Song Sinian's eyelashes were long. When his eyes were closed, they rested innocently against his lower lids. Nothing like his arrogant daytime scowl. A perfect picture of a sleeping beauty. I was instantly awake and rolled out of bed. Your place offers this kind of service? Song Sinian was somehow in my bed, wearing pink pajamas. Probably startled awake by my voice. Song Sinian opened his eyes, processed for 2 seconds, his brows furrowing deeply. What are you doing here? How should I know? Look clearly, Boss Song, this is my room, I said, exasperated. He looked around, seeming to realize what had happened. Sleepwalking? I asked. Never. So you're just Sunda? Really letting me cut in line? He rolled his eyes at me. I was speechless. Are you saying you were magically transported here? He frowned, wanting to argue but couldn't find the words. Check the surveillance, he said, getting up. I followed him to the front desk, really wanting to see how exactly he'd ended up in my room. The surveillance footage played in fast forward, but from start to finish there was no sign of him entering my room. We stared at each other. Boss Song, seems there's something unclean in your homestay. Song Sinian watched the footage several times in disbelief. He never left his room. I never opened my door. Finally he looked up, slightly tense. Maybe it's true. He moved quickly. That afternoon, an elderly woman wearing colourful folk attire appeared in the lobby. Granny Jiang, that's the situation. After a brief exchange with the old woman, Song Sinian led her on a thorough inspection of the entire homestay area. By the end, Granny Jiang's frown deepened. I sensed trouble and was about to pack up and leave. Forget a beautiful romance, I needed to save my own skin. Did you two perhaps do something you shouldn't have at the wishing well? She suddenly asked. I froze. Yes, we just made a wish. What wish? My pupils dilated. That's not really something to say out loud. Seeing my silence, both pairs of eyes fixed on me. Damn it all. This is worse than killing me. If I'd known it would lead to public humiliation, I should have just wished to never gain weight. Well, I hoped to. Conquer. I pointed a finger at Song Sinian, then turned my face away. I really couldn't bring myself to say the words sleep with. I'd slightly edited the original wish. Jiang Yan. Oh Jiang Yan. You've suffered your first major Waterloo since coming here. The air was silent for a moment. I was so embarrassed I wanted to grab my suitcase and flee right then. It seems the old legend has come true. Granny Jiang murmured, her eyes downcast as if recalling something. There's a legend here. The wishing well grants the wishes of those it favors. After midnight, the prince appears by the princess's side to prevent her from escaping the castle. How do we break it? Granny Jiang closed her eyes and shook her head. Prince? Princess? Hello? This is 21st century China. I blinked, utterly bewildered. Granny Jiang spoke privately with Song Sinian before leaving. After seeing her off, Song Sinian's face looked so dark it could drip ink. You... okay? Seeing him standing frozen, I couldn't help but ask. He suddenly looked up, his gaze landing on me, and walked towards me step by step. I reflexively backed up until my back hit the wooden storage cabinet in the homestay. Song Sinian stopped half a step away, leaning down. I watched his handsome face get closer and closer, frowning and closing my eyes. Then, just as his breath was right there, I felt a bright light before me, and his sexy voice whispered beside my ear. Miss Jiang, do you like me that much? I told you to try it, but you used this method. My eyes flew open. I remembered his words, then he was responding to my, can I cut in line? From before. His breath brushed my ear, making it hot and itchy. I quickly covered my ears to cool them down. 9J, I damn. A thud sounded like something dropping. At the stairway corner, employee Zhao Jiang appeared, took in the scene, and swallowed half his curse. Out of the corner of my eye, I pushed Song Sinian away and ran back to my room. Song Sinian, you lunatic. Don't go teasing people just because you're handsome. I closed the door, hand on my wildly beating heart, still catching my breath. My phone vibrated. I looked unknown number. I hung up, but it called again immediately. Damn it, found again. When I didn't answer, a text came quickly. Yan, answer the phone. Lin Yecheng, stop harassing me. We're broken up. I answered the phone, unable to bear it any longer. Ever since breaking up with Lin Yecheng a month ago, he's been calling non-stop. After I changed my number, he showed up at my company. Add to that the position changes arranged by HR, putting a stop to the radio show I've hosted for nearly 5 years. In a fit of anger, I took this month-long annual leave I've been saving and came to Bukingtown to relax. Why did you break up with me? I told you. What the paparazzi caught was fake. That day, Shen Jianing's clothes got stained with coffee in the car, so I just let her in. His voice was urgent, trying to explain the video from last month titled Rising Star Lin Yecheng and Innocent Fresh Face Shen Jianing Spend Night Together. Shut up. I don't want to hear it. Stop calling. I cut him off, rubbed my temples, hung up and blocked the number. Looks like I need to change my number again. Lin Yecheng was my senior in college, different majors. I studied broadcasting and hosting. He studied film and television performance. In college he pursued me vigorously for a while, but it died down quickly. Until a year ago, our paths crossed again at work, and he started pursuing me once more. Back then, he didn't have many fans or status. He was a regular guest on my radio show for months. Later, a low-budget web series he starred in suddenly blew up, and he became a rising star. I once thought reuniting in such a big city, like a city, must be special fate. It wasn't until last month's scandalous hot search that I saw clearly. It was fate, indeed. A goddamn cursed fate. My mood hit rock bottom. I turned around, pulled open the door, wanting to get some air. The moment I opened it, Song Sinian's face was right in front of me. "What's wrong?" I asked, puzzled. His face was expressionless, but I faintly felt the temperature around us drop. Nothing. He seemed to let out a soft snort, then dropped a line before turning to leave. "To prevent me from suddenly appearing in your bed again, starting today I'll move in and sleep on the floor." "Granny Zhang's suggestion, not mine," he added. "Sleep on the floor? No. What?" "The point is he's moving in starting today." Before I could react, he disappeared around the corner, leaving only the faint scent of tea. Boss Song's decisiveness and action were always swift. Sure enough, at 11 p.m. he appeared at my door with a set of bedding. I peeked out to make sure no one was around and quickly pulled him inside. Song Sinian said nothing, quietly arranging his makeshift bed on the floor. I didn't dare make a sound either. "Boss Song, how do we break this curse exactly?" I couldn't stand the awkwardness hanging in the air and spoke first. He sat cross-legged on his bedding, looking up at me. "What, are you in a hurry?" "What do you mean I'm in a hurry?" "Just yesterday he was acting like I owed him money. I'm just worried he'll hate me even more." "Forget it. When I go back to City A, you'll be teleporting to my side every night and taking the high-speed train back the next day. Wasn't it you who caused this mess?" He replied, "I don't know either." I was speechless. "Why don't you go out? And then we can test if the curse is really in effect." I had a sudden idea. So, at 11:50, under my pressure, Song Sinian went back to his room. I held my breath. As the clock struck 12, I opened my eyes expectantly. Damn. The person in pink pajamas appeared right in front of me. "Any discoveries?" he asked, looking somewhat exasperated. "I discovered you really like pink," I said. "Good grief, it's really supernatural." Damn it. No wonder Song Sinian looked vaguely familiar from the first moment I saw him. After all, I never imagined in all my years that the one who despoiled me the most would be a wishing well. Perhaps because things beyond my logical comprehension were too complex. When supernatural phenomena actually occurred, I reacted quite calmly. I slept soundly. Waking to the sunlight, I opened my eyes to see Song Sinian on the lounge chair by the window. Dark circles under his eyes. It seemed my sleep-talking had given him quite a scare. But young people's energy is always abundant. He still kept his promise and acted as my tour guide. In about a week and a half, he took me through roughly 2/3 of the sites, including 3 small towns around Buking. Song Sinian truly loved this land. From his words and actions I could tell he wasn't a local here, but I didn't ask. "Boss Song, Buking town is full of green mountains and waters everywhere. Why is it called Buking, not green?" I asked. Song Sinian looked at the layered distant mountains and tea fields, a rare softness in his eyes. "That's their way of protecting this place." I felt a slight stir in my heart, but good times don't last. I went from bouncing out the door full of energy every day at the start, to being dragged into the car by Song Sinian while yelling, "I should be under the car, not in the car." Soon after, I completely lost my enthusiasm for sightseeing. Tired, so tired. It was like forcing a duck onto a perch. But he insisted, maybe taking you to all the sites is the way to break the curse. The homestay staff were gossiping privately that we were dating. It was supposed to be private, right? Right? That big mouth Zhao Dian spilled it right to me, one of the subjects. "Sis Yan, are you really with Ni and Jay? Then you'll be our boss lady from now on." I plopped onto the rosewood sofa in the lobby, exhausted from just returning from a nearby site, looking at the tanned, innocent, grinning boy with naturally fluffy hair in front of me. "Zhao Zhang, use your handsome, innocent big eyes to see clearly. Do I look like someone in the honeymoon phase of a relationship?" I pointed at my slightly greasy hair under my hat and my already smudged makeup. Zhao Jiang examined me carefully for a while, his expression shifting from confusion to clarity. Yes. Others, I don't know. But that's how our Nianjie is. I fell silent. Silence is the Cambridge Bridge tonight. But it's no wonder they'd speculate. What kind of proper relationship could two people living together inexplicably have? Looking at Zhao Jiang, I suddenly had a mischievous idea. Hey, Zhao Jiang, I'll tell you a secret. I beckoned mysteriously for him to come closer. What? He curiously leaned in. Your Songjie actually likes pink. Shocking enough, right? Zhao Jiang paused, then laughed. I know. We all know. He looked at me like I was an idiot. I couldn't take it. How do you know? Have you seen it too? Seen what? Songjie always picks pink when buying things. What are you talking about? He said. Jiang Yan. Song Sinian, having parked the car, walked into the lobby with purpose. He startled me. Go to sleep. We continue tomorrow. He didn't look like someone who'd walked 20,000 steps today at all. Zhao Jiang laughed suggestively. His look made me nervous. Boss Song, this rosewood furniture is too hard on the butt. You should change it. I made a quick escape. Honestly, I didn't know when this kind of life would end. I really had to thank an unexpected, uninvited guest. One morning, Song Sinian was urging me out again. I reluctantly followed him to the homestay entrance and spotted a familiar figure in white. Sinian J. Anran, Song Sinian's sister-in-law's sister, floated towards us. Her skin was snow white, looking like a gentle breeze could knock her over. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Song Sinian's brow furrow again imperceptibly. And I felt inexplicably sorry for this girl. Such a pretty girl. Why insist on hanging herself on this grumpy tree? The next moment, she spoke. Sinian J, do you know about her ex-boyfriend? My internal alarm bells went off instantly. Not for any other reason, but just hearing that name was like being fed shit. And day-old shit at that. Song Sinian said, Is that relevant? Anren blinked, her gaze shifting to me. Sis, a few days ago I heard someone nearby was looking for you. I secretly followed them and overheard. They seem to be planning to kidnap you and take you back. You need to be careful. Her words completely fried my brain. I thought this girl hadn't given up and came specifically to cause trouble for me. Turns out she came with good intentions to warn me. Also, Lin Yecheng wants to kidnap me. I stood there dumbfounded, 100 feelings swirling inside, frozen in place. Seeing my silence, two big words clearly appeared on Anran's fair face. Urgent. She turned to speak to Song Sinian. Sinian J, don't say I didn't warn you. You protect. She paused, cleared her throat. Sis-in-law. Now we were both frozen. Before leaving, Anran smiled towards the direction behind us. Her cheeks flushed and ran off again. I turned to look in that direction. Zhao Jiang stood there with a silly grin, his smile almost reaching his ears. So that's it. I had a sudden, profound realization. It really is spring with everything coming back to life, animals. Ahem. The season of love for all. Infected by their smiles, I couldn't help but grin stupidly myself. Turning back, I collided head-on with Song Sinian's probing gaze. It was clearly early spring, the temperature outside barely around 10 degrees. But I suddenly felt an inexplicable, untamed fire and restlessness inside me. I wondered if he felt the same. It's too cold. I'm going back to Adalea. I fled in defeat. Song Sinian's homestay had a cocktail bar, the same place where he pulled me to pose as his girlfriend. Against all odds, he didn't schedule an outing today. After lying like a corpse in my room for most of the day, I regained some energy and went to the bar. Song Sinian occasionally performed songs here. At that moment, he was sitting on a high wooden stool on the small stage, tuning his guitar. I ordered a mojito at the bar and sat quietly in the audience, listening to him sing as I sipped my drink. It's really quite amazing. 2 weeks ago, we were adversaries holding each other's weak spots. Because of a magical wishing well, we were inexplicably bound together by a curse. Now I had calmed the impulsive, revenge-fueled desire for indulgence I felt when I first arrived in Buking, due to emotional and work troubles. In these days, Song Sinian took me around. I experienced the simple local customs of Buking town and the uniquely charming natural scenery outside the urban steel forest. The physical exhaustion seemed to have started spreading inward, little by little filling the cracks deep in my heart. Want to see you today too? Where are you right now? Song Sinian put down his guitar and sat opposite me. Miss Jiang, what brings you down for a drink today? I took a few more sips. Boss Song is handsome and sings well. I'll come support you more often. He chuckled softly, his 5 slender, long fingers pinching no, picking up the glass of amber liquid in front of him and downing it in one go. From my angle, he deliberately showed me his perfect 45-degree profile. His tall, straight nose was like an excellent anatomical model from an art student's sketch. The clearly defined Adam's apple on his fair, smooth neck bobbed up and down. Men. Such clumsy tricks. Having seen so many men, would I fall for this? Then I swallowed loudly. Gulp. Damn. I really did fall for it. Truly a feast for the eyes. A feast for the eyes. Boss Song, do you know what time it is? Whether it was the alcohol kicking in so quickly, or the fact that lust clouds judgment, I suddenly spoke as if possessed. Song Sinian put down his glass, glanced at his wrist. 11. Why? Wrong. I smiled sweetly, using the alcohol as an excuse to play dumb, leaning close to him, whispering in his ear just like he did to me. It's the starting point of our happiness. As the words left my mouth, I felt the person in front of me visibly stiffen. The strings in my brain seemed to be snapping one by one at a rate I could perceive. Wait. No. I wanted to flirt with him further, but what came out was, Boss Song, another drink. Song Sinian relaxed and chuckled softly. Such a lightweight. Not light. I can still drink, I mumbled, face down on the table. Damn, what's going on? Clearly, back in college I could drink a whole can of beer with my roommate, and only just start feeling it. Is liquor really that powerful? My consciousness was still clear, but my motor cortex seemed a bit paralyzed by the alcohol. On the way back to the room, dragged and pulled by Song Sinian, I felt like a gorilla with underdeveloped coordination. God, what are you doing? Finally getting a chance to take the initiative, and it's nipped in the bud. The moment I hit the bed, the only thing I could still control, my toes desperately clawed at the sheets. I intended to dig myself an escape route into the ground, ready for me to slip into tomorrow morning when I'd be normal again. Lie properly. Song Sinian bent down, pulled the blanket out from under me, making me roll over, and haphazardly threw it over me. Is there no justice? Taking advantage of me when I'm not in my right mind. I wanted to protest, but with one turn I rolled straight off the bed. That fall instantly restored most of my nerve function. Song Sinian was startled and quickly crouched to help me up. Furious, I tried hard to open my eyes wide and glare at him. Opening my eyes, Song Sinian's face was right there. His glass bead-like eyes were tinged with the dampness of alcohol, shimmering with a faint light, the corners slightly pink from the drink. By the time I realized the atmosphere was off, I could already count every single one of his thick eyelashes. Boss Song, I called out dazedly. Call me by my name. His voice was hoarse. Song Sinian? I responded obediently. His voice was soft, like a feather brushing my heart, itching. The surroundings suddenly fell silent. I could hear my own heartbeat and his. The next moment, I felt a cool touch on my lips. Under the influence of alcohol, everything felt unreal, like a dream. Damn alcohol. People say blacking out after drinking is fake. My memories from last night were all intact, shouting loudly in my mind. I didn't know when I fell asleep. I only remember after he kissed me. He carried me to bed, tapped me in, and then seemed to leave my room. The calendar notification on my bedside phone popped up. A few more days until my return date. My job at the radio station was important to me. Even though my time in Buking was beautiful, I had to go back eventually. My relationship with Song Sinian seemed to be slipping out of my control. Actually, just like my initial wish, I was attracted by his looks. I wanted a beautiful encounter in a place where no one knew me. I had just gotten out of my last relationship and wasn't in a hurry to jump into another. But now his reactions are making me feel I shouldn't have barged into his life so casually. And then leave. Song Sinian had really changed. He suddenly started making breakfast for me. I was flattered but wary. Boss Song, being nice for no reason. I pretended not to remember yesterday questioning him. Sure enough, The slight upturn at the corner of his mouth flattened imperceptibly. How did I get back to my room last night again? I deliberately muttered softly. He pushed the cooked congee and fried dough sticks towards me, then turned to leave. Pack up. We're heading out, was all he said, neither warm nor cold. I didn't protest. For once I obediently listened to him. After all, it seemed like I was the one who owed him now. Today's destination was the farthest Anhi villa, quite a distance from Buking. There was a huge green lake there, unnamed but somewhat famous. Song Sinian was clearly familiar with the route, not even using GPS. For over an hour, the silence in the car was awkward. Fortunately, the moment I saw the nameless lake, my tension and anxiety vanished. From afar, the lake was just a small dot nestled between the mountains. As we drove closer, I truly experienced the pure, jade-like color spreading before me like ink. The vastness and insignificance of life collided in my heart in an instant. I fished out the knit shawl I bought in town a few days ago from my bag and draped it over my shoulders. I got out of the car, full of glee. Women always brighten up after taking photos they like. I have to say, Song Sinian was a natural photographer. As dusk approached, we returned to the car. You really didn't study photography. You're way too good at this. Song Sinian didn't respond. I was in the photography club in college. You're much better than me. I kept complimenting him, completely missing the change in his expression. Scrolling to the latest photos, I froze. A car had stopped not far behind us in one photo, and a man got out. Looked familiar. Shit. My gaze shifted from the photo to Song Sinian's face in front of me. His expression was complicated, his brows already furrowed. Following his gaze, a man in sunglasses was walking towards my direction. Crap. It was Lin Yecheng. Yan. Our eyes met. The latter immediately confirmed his target and hurried towards me. Damn. Why is this bastard here? I was scared and stunned. Before I could react, Song Sinian had already pulled me behind him. Who are you? Lin Yecheng stopped a couple of steps away, taking off his sunglasses to size up Song Sinian. Song Sinian didn't answer. The air froze between them. Suddenly, Lin Yecheng's expression seemed to falter for a second. Like a deflated balloon. You? Song Sinian's phone rang, breaking the strange tension. He's a guest at the homestay. He hung up, his expression not great. An hour and a half later, Lin Yecheng followed our car to the homestay. Zhao Jiang hurried out to greet us. 9J, I told you yesterday. A big client today. It's him. Lin Yecheng, wearing sunglasses and a mask, seeing Song Sinian wasn't next to me, immediately came over. Yanyan, I found you after all. His tone was almost boastful. I took 2 steps sideways. Mr. Lin, please behave yourself. If you get photographed, it'll implicate the rest of us. He still wouldn't give up. I cancelled important work to come find you this time, just because I got news of you. He reached out to grab my hand. Song Sinian promptly caught his outstretched arm mid-air. Mr. Lin, your room is inside. Lin Yecheng shook off his hand, looking at me. Where are you staying? She's staying with me. Song Sinian answered before I could. There were several other guests checking in and out in the lobby. His volume wasn't loud, but it wasn't quiet either. It instantly attracted everyone's attention. Lin Yecheng's expression, hidden behind sunglasses and a mask, visibly soured. Song Sinian paid no further attention, pulling me by the wrist upstairs. Jiang Yan! Lin Yecheng called from behind. Don't forget about heartbeat 106 being taken off air. If you're willing to come back, everything stays the same. Don't say I didn't warn you. His voice grew fainter as I went upstairs, but I clearly understood the weight of his words. Heartbeat 106 was an extremely important show for me. It wasn't just a job. It was also a connection to my departed parents. Once in the room, Song Sinian let go of my hand and sat alone on the lounge chair by the window, lost in thought. Boss Song, I approached cautiously, tugging at the hem of his shirt. He glanced up at me, no reaction. So tsunda. I figured he must be jealous and wanted to tease him. Everyone knows you like pink. I thought only I had discovered that little secret. Why were you willing to be my tour guide? Clearly, you didn't have a girlfriend, nor anything you couldn't let others know. I asked him, because I was genuinely puzzled. He clearly avoided me like the plague at first. How could he lower himself to be my guy just because I caught him on something that didn't even exist? He looked at me, still silent. Boring. Maybe I should go out and chat with my ex. Before I could finish, Song Sinian stood up. He was a head taller than me, instantly imposing. My next words got stuck in my throat. His eyes seemed to hold burning anger. He stepped forward. I stepped back, until I backed into the edge of the bed and sat down with a plop. Jiang Yan, do I need to help you recall what happened last night? With that, he leaned over. No need. I immediately crossed my arms in an X over my chest. Remember now. I remember. Tell me about it. I stared at him wide-eyed, unable to fathom how his 37-degree mouth could utter such terrifying words. Song Sinian didn't seem to be joking. His serious expression scared me a little. That. I struggled but couldn't say it, so I simply pushed hard against his abdomen with both hands. That push was a mistake. He didn't seem to be standing firmly at all. He fell backward onto the floor with a thud. I don't know if his head hit the ground, but I definitely heard a thump. And then Song Sinian, lying on the floor, went still. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I quickly crouched down to check on him. Song Sinian. Did I kill him? His eyes were tightly shut, unmoving. I cautiously leaned close to check his breathing. His eyes suddenly flew open, his eyelashes brushing my cheek. Call me like that, he said, rolling on top of me, his voice hoarse. You remember just fine. My face flushed crimson, feeling all my blood rushing upwards. I reached out to push him away, only to realize my hands had been resting on his hard abs since earlier. The look in his eyes was obscure, yet seemed to flicker with a strange light. I felt something was about to happen. The faint scent of white tea from him filled my nostrils, intoxicating me. I have another way, he whispered in my ear. A way to break that curse. I opened my eyes, suddenly remembering my original wish. I hope I can successfully sleep with Song Sinian before I leave. Oh. So that's it. I suddenly understood all the confusion from this time. Perhaps their meeting was destined. A brief encounter. Passionate feelings. Sometimes overthinking just pushes the people around you further away. I decided to follow my heart. The warm yellow light in the room cast a thin golden glow on Song Sinian's hair. Song Sinian. Did you like me from the very beginning? I raised both hands, clumsily cupping his face, and kissed him. So smart. Cool evening wind crept in through the open window crack, but my body was burning hot in front of him. Damn. Men are all liars. That restrained, aloof appearance is all a facade. When I opened my eyes, Song Sinian was no longer in the room. A sense of loss washed over me. I suddenly remembered he told me yesterday there was a cultural event in town today that required his presence. Looks like I won't get to see him one last time before I leave. Because I was leaving. I hadn't originally intended to disappear without a word. We're all adults. We can take responsibility for our actions. I glanced at my chat with Director Jiang. Yesterday, a message had come. Heartbeat 106 can be restarted. When are you ending your vacation? I typed, in the next couple of days, and hit send. Putting down my phone, I felt a pang of melancholy. I found a blank sheet of paper, wrote a few short lines, and placed it in the most conspicuous spot in the room. I didn't want to make a scene leaving the homestay, so I picked out my most cherished outfit and my most expensive bag, traveling light for my escape. Zhao Jiang at the entrance still greeted me warmly. I felt inexplicably guilty, walking a kilometer or two before hailing a taxi to the city center. Sitting on the high-speed train back to City A, I suddenly, acutely realized everything about Buking Town was about to become a memory, scattered by the wind. My best friend and colleague, Yang Jian, hearing I was back, drove straight to my building without a word, insisting I join her for drinks. During my absence, she'd been on and off with her boyfriend, and that bastard, for some unknown reason, had suddenly become unreachable a couple of days ago. Yang Jian cursed and ranted across from me. I couldn't get a word in edgewise. Checking the time. 10:30 p.m. Song Sinian should have discovered my disappearance by now. But sadly, He only had the new number I'd gotten to avoid Lin Yecheng, and that phone, along with the WeChat logged into it, was now tucked away in a compartment of my bag. Hey, Jiang Yan, what are you thinking about? I snapped back to reality. Yang Jian's confused face appeared before me. Nothing. Come on, let's keep drinking. I picked up my glass and smiled at her. Back home, I lay on my soft bed, staring at the ceiling. Had I done the right thing? Song Sinian wouldn't come back to City A with me, and I couldn't stay there with him. Was brief companionship a reward or a punishment from heaven? I thought, if you don't get too greedy, it's a reward. Expecting too much turns it into punishment. I didn't want to be too greedy, but I couldn't stop the sour ache in my heart. I left without a word. A beautiful period of time quickly turned into a bubble. Once the sun rose, it vanished without a trace. I quickly returned to my former hosting position. Colleagues I hadn't seen in over a month said I seemed different. Jiang Yan, I heard Heartbeat 106's ratings weren't great. Getting cut was inevitable. How did you get Director Jiang to change his mind? A not-so-close colleague came over to gossip. Though I didn't want to admit it, I suspected it was probably because of Lin Yecheng. I forced a laugh and changed the subject. I didn't want to owe him anything, but I couldn't let Heartbeat 106 be the price. Lin Yecheng appeared shortly after I called him. Considering his somewhat special status, I booked a private room in a hotel. Yunyan, since you decided to come back, why didn't you tell me? I waited for you at that homestay for 2 more days. He sat in the seat next to me. Coming back is my business. It has nothing to do with you. I stood up and moved 1 seat over. He smiled self-deprecatingly. Thank you for reaching out about Heartbeat 106. There's anything I can help you with in the future, just say the word. I got to the point. He paused. Reaching out about what? Wasn't it you who contacted Director Jiang? I looked at him. He frowned, looking puzzled. Although I did say that's what I'd do if you came back with me. You didn't tell me you were coming back with me. It wasn't him. Then why? I was stunned, utterly bewildered. Could it be Director Jiang had a sudden pang of conscience? Heartbeat 106 had been on for so many years. Maybe he had feelings for it, and couldn't bear to let it go. I was confused, but life had to go on. In big cities, the sky darkens particularly late, and nightlife is particularly long. The streets at night are bustling with traffic, the city aglow with lights. As usual, I entered the broadcast studio to host today's Heartbeat 106. Thank you for your faithful listening. Another busy day has passed. How are you feeling today? Now, let's listen to the story our listener with the Weibo name, Cian, wants to share today. Hello. Silence from the other end. I asked again, gesturing to the control room to check if there was a technical issue. The director seemed baffled, confirming several times that everything was fine. Perhaps this listener is experiencing some network issues. Let's listen to a piece of music first. Hello. A voice suddenly came through. My heart skipped a beat. I could recognize his voice. But this wasn't him. Hello. What story would you like to share today? I replied. My girlfriend suddenly disappeared some time ago because of something. I couldn't reach her at all. Lately, I've been feeling a bit lost. I wonder if the host has any advice for me. I felt both helpless and amused. I can hear you're truly feeling lost. But sometimes, the meeting of 2 people might itself be a special fate. An ending predestined from the start. Love isn't a one-person thing. Are you saying I should let go? The other end interrupted. I suddenly fell silent. 1 second. 2 seconds. 3 seconds. The director panicked, frantically signaling from the control room for me to speak. A few more seconds would be a broadcasting mishap. A million words swirled inside me, but I couldn't utter a single one. The other person broke the 8 or 9 seconds of silence. I understand. In that instant, I saw the director's expression relax. For him, a crisis was averted. I also suddenly realized that if I didn't say something now, it might truly be the end for Song Sinian and me. Perhaps. I spoke up just a split second before regret could set in. You both could give each other another chance. Jiang Yan, I'm reminding you again, this client boss is really no ordinary person. 70% of our company's programs rely on their investment and support. Director Jiang repeatedly called me into his office. over and over emphasizing how important this dinner was. He talked with flying spit, occasionally pushing up his black-framed glasses, which slid down from the oil on his face. I really didn't want to stay in the same room with him any longer, and had to agree. I suspect he ate garlic chives last night. Hurrying out of his office, I started to regret it. What had he just said? Normally, these kind of schmoozing dinners would never fall to me. Opportunities to impress like this were fought over by Zhao Hui and Zhao Li from the neighboring shows. Sure enough, as soon as I left the office, they cornered me. Well, didn't see it coming. Jiang Yan, you took one vacation and came back enlightened. I smiled politely and arrived at the destination on time, using the address Director Jiang sent me. The famous Peace Grand Hotel in City A. The hotel corridors were resplendent. People coming and going were well dressed and in a hurry. I reached the designated private room door and took a deep breath. Just a dinner. Even if I drank a bit too much, Yang Jian would come pick me up as agreed. I pushed open the private room door. The moment I saw the person sitting at the head of the table, all the blood in my body seemed to rush backward. Damn. Song Sinian. Amidst his conversation with the person beside him, he glanced up seemingly casually at me, then withdrew his gaze as if I were a stranger. I stood frozen, unsure what to do. Zhao Jiang, come in. Come in. Team leader Wang from our company gestured for me to sit. Mortified, I wanted to vanish into the ground. The seat I ended up in was directly across from Song Sinian. Why was he here? Why was he sitting there? My heart was in turmoil until team leader Wang prompted me to greet the client boss. Following his pointing finger, Song Sinian's gaze landed precisely between us. Director Song, please excuse her. Our Zhao Jian is a bit inexperienced. Seeing me immobile, he subtly nudged my foot under the table. I sprang to my feet. All eyes turned to me. Director Song, hello. We've long known the chairman of Song Group's son would follow in his father's footsteps. We just didn't expect it so suddenly. This can be considered our first meeting. Team leader Wang continued the flattery on my behalf. Song Sinian, sitting directly opposite, merely nodded without a word. People on either side of him vied for his attention. The overhead light shone down, making him the center of attention. He seemed to belong to a different world from mine. Halfway through the meal, I hadn't taken many bites. Zhao Jiang offered Director Song another toast. I'd already been coaxed into drinking a small glass of baijiu earlier, and was feeling slightly lightheaded. Standing up, I picked up the wine and walked over to Song Sinian. Director Song, I offer you a toast. Bolstered by the alcohol, I had automatically set aside my guilt over leaving without a word, replacing it with anger that he'd never told me he was the son of the Song Group chairman. Holding the filled glass, I tilted my head back, ready to down it. My wrist was suddenly encircled by a searing heat. Song Sinian reached up and grabbed it. Don't drink. Team leader Wang, seeing this, was startled and stood up to apologize. Director Song, Zhao Jiao might be a bit drunk, Let's go. Without waiting for him to finish, Song Sinian stood up, grasped my wrist, and left the table, leaving a stunned silence behind. He stuffed me into the passenger seat of his car and closed the door, then quickly got in from the driver's side. My face was flushed. I raised my hands to press against it, trying to cool down. Song Sinian, who exactly are you? I asked, a bit petulantly. He seemed to let out a soft scoff. Who do you say I am? I glared at him. I don't know. You're so rich. You must be very rich. What nonsense was I saying? He rolled down the window. I apologize to you. It was my fault for not telling you these things. So, we're even. I was still mentally digesting his words. Jiang Yan, didn't you say we should give each other another chance? He continued. Wind blew in through the window, hitting my face. But that voice on the radio clearly wasn't his. Zhao Jiang's voice. Forgotten already? He seemed to read my confusion, smiling as he patted my head. Damn, no wonder it sounded familiar. It was Zhao Jiang. My head, ruffled by his hand, felt a bit itchy. I reached up to scratch it. So does this mean you're pursuing me again? I struggled to control the corners of my mouth from lifting. Song Sinian chuckled. You little ingrate. I called and texted you so many times and you never replied once. We haven't settled that debt yet, Have we? As he spoke, he leaned closer. The familiar scent of white tea, mixed with a hint of alcohol, felt damp and feverish. I quickly backed away, scared. This guy had a hidden agenda. Something was up. All right, let's go. I deliberately adjusted my sitting posture, changing the subject. Knock. Knock. Someone tapped on the window. Hello. Designated driver service. It dawned on me then. We'd both been drinking. We couldn't drive. Song Sinian opened the passenger door for me. As I took the hand he offered to get out, a few girls ran over from not far away, pointing at me and shouting, "It's her!" I was utterly confused. They reached me, their tone urgent and hostile. Her? She's the woman who was photographed having dinner with Ye Chengjij before. Song Sinian and I looked at each other. The designated driver also froze, scared. Having dinner together? Probably that time I booked a private room to thank him for helping keep Heartbeat 106. Nice young girls, but a bunch of obsessive fans. And they're fans of that scumbag. My mind was slow. Before I could figure out what to do, Song Sinian stepped in front of me. She's my girlfriend. We don't believe it. How can you prove it? The girls pressed. Song Sinian looked down at me, a smile on his lips. How should we prove it to them? His words held a hint of mischief. Just as I was scared he might do something to me. The trunk of the car parked behind us slowly began to rise. Song Sinian took my hand and walked over. What met my eyes was 2 suitcases. I looked at him, full of questions. What the hell? Wrong one. He seemed to realize the mistake, immediately turning to block the wide-open trunk, as if trying to salvage some dignity. What's this? The fangirls curiously crowded around, looking exasperated. I stared at him, bewildered. What are you doing? He suddenly gave a mysterious smile, and under my astonished gaze, pulled out a large bouquet of red roses from behind his back. Before I could react, the girls behind me squealed first. So romantic. So sweet to see. Song Sinian's expression was serious and earnest. The corners of his mouth curved. He suddenly got down on one knee. Miss Jiang Yan, will you accept my pursuit? The girls started cheering. My cheeks burned. Even the designated driver uncle came over curiously to watch and take pictures. Hey, Boss Song, do you know a lot of people are pursuing me? The line stretches from this parking lot all the way to Bukingtown, I said with a smile, my eyes suddenly feeling hot. Then can I cut in line? In the future, you have to. I paused, carefully recalling all the things about him that dissatisfied me. Never laugh at my ID photo being ugly again. He looked torn between laughter and tears. Whatever you say, and also. I wanted to add more, but the girls' cheers grew louder, attracting more people from the surroundings. I thought and thought, but couldn't come up with anything else bad about him. The Song Sinian before me was nothing like when I first met him at the homestay. He smiled foolishly, grinning at me. But the grumpy-faced Song Sinian only smiled for me. That counted as an advantage too. I wiped away the tears about to fall and burst out laughing looking at him. I do. Song Sinian always remembered the first time he saw Jiang Yan. City A Film Academy. His senior year. Her freshman year. He was in charge of the photography club's recruitment event. She was struggling up the stairs with a suitcase half her height. Somehow, he noticed her figure in the crowd and remembered it. He thought about helping her that evening, but in the blink of an eye, another boy had already run to her side. Heard his name was Lin Yesheng. He soon launched a passionate pursuit. Song Sinian occasionally saw her at the club, but she never spoke to him, while her relationship with that guy seemed to get better and better. He thought, as long as she was happy. Until one time, while negotiating an internship outside school, he saw Lin Yecheng with an unfamiliar girl, acting somewhat intimate. He cornered Lin Yecheng on his way home. Beat him up. If you don't cherish her, stay away from Zhongyan from now on. Later, Lin Yecheng really stopped following her around. But at the same time, he was pressured by his family to study finance abroad, suffocated by the plan to take over the company in the future. He ran away, fled from abroad to Bukingtown. After that, he had no more news of her. Just occasionally listened to her show, Heartbeat 106. just as she could recognize his voice instantly. He never expected fate would give them another chance to meet. She didn't remember him, which made him a bit sulky and disappointed. So at first, he always played little tricks to annoy her. But fortunately, this time, her eyes could finally see his reflection. The night before Jiang Yan left without saying goodbye. "Jiang Yan, is heartbeat 106 very important to you?" he asked. "It's the radio station where my parents met. After they left, the only thing I could hold on to was it." After she fell asleep, he dialed a long unused number. He knew this meant his time at the homestay would soon end. But as long as he could help her, he would do anything. "I do," Jiang Yan said. The surrounding crowd began to cheer. Song Sinian stood up, reaching out to gently wipe the tears from her face. "My makeup is ruined." Jiang Yan laughed through her tears, pushing him. He leaned down slightly and kissed her, silencing all her words. Epilogue. The ultimate secret of the pink underwear. My relationship with Song Sinian was passionate and widely known, especially among the old homestay staff. Every video call, Zhao Jiang's big face would fill the screen, his voice booming. "Boss lady, has Nian Jay's pink pajamas been washed? Need an airdrop supply?" Song Sinian would usually cover my phone camera expressionlessly. But today was different. Today was our 1-year anniversary and also the celebration banquet for a major project at Song Group. I wore the silver evening gown Song Sinian picked out, and the heels he chose won't make you twist your ankle but absolutely beautiful, holding his arm as we moved through the perfumed glittering crowd. "Director Song, and this is?" People kept coming over to greet us, their eyes lingering on me. "My girlfriend Jiang Yan." Song Sinian answered naturally, but his arm tightened around me slightly. I could feel the scrutiny, curiosity, and perhaps a trace of barely concealed disdain in those gazes. Song Sinian was now the undeniable successor of Song Group, while I, in many people's eyes, was probably just a lucky radio host who hit the jackpot. "Nervous?" He tilted his head slightly, his warm breath brushing my ear. "A little," I admitted honestly. "Afraid I'll embarrass you." He chuckled softly, and in an unnoticed corner, quickly squeezed my fingertips. "Embarrass me how?" "Your presence here is an honor." Despite his words, when Song Sinian was called away by a few key partners to discuss business, leaving me alone facing several exquisitely made-up socialites, the air still turned subtly quiet. "Miss Jiang is in broadcasting?" A lady in champagne-colored gown asked, her smile impeccable. "Yes, a nighttime emotional talk show." "Oh, heartbeat 106? Another raised an eyebrow. "I've heard it. Quite ... Healing." The perfunctory tone was audible from 3 meters away. I kept smiling, mentally chanting, Don't get angry. Don't get angry. I'm here for the food." Speaking of which, Sinian used to be at that radio station too, didn't he? The champagne-gowned lady suddenly remembered, turning to the one with the coolest demeanor who hadn't spoken yet. "Anren, you used to visit him there often, right?" "Anren?" My heart skipped a beat. I looked up carefully. White dress, long straight black hair, delicate features, an aloof expression. It couldn't be anyone but Anren, Song Sinian's brother's wife's younger sister. Her attire today, different from the ethereal fairy-like aura imbuing, highlighted the efficiency of a city elite. She saw me too. Our eyes met, and she gave a slight nod in greeting. Compared to the girl in the homestay garden with red-rimmed eyes calling, Sinian J, she was now almost unnervingly calm. "That was all a long time ago," Anren said calmly. "Miss Jiang's show is quite good." "Thank you." I didn't know how to respond. The situation was so awkward I could dig a mansion with my toes. An ex suspected, white moonlight and the current girlfriend meeting at an anniversary banquet. Even soap operas wouldn't dare script this. Fortunately, Song Sinian returned quickly, rescuing me from the awkwardness. He naturally placed a hand on my waist, nodded slightly to the ladies and led me towards the dining area. "Hungry? They have the soufflé you like over there." Once further away, I whispered, "Why is Anren here? Does her family also have business with yours?" The Yin family is one of our important partners." Song Sinian cut a small piece of cake and brought it to my lips. She joined the family business after graduation. Very capable. I chewed the cake, the sweetness spreading on my tongue, but a strange discomfort lingered in my heart. Not jealousy, but an indescribable awkwardness. That girl who once cried for him and indirectly triggered our fake couple act had now grown into a woman who could stand beside him in the business world. And me? I was still battling program ratings, listener letters, and the occasional haunting presence of Lin Yecheng. Oh, Lin Yecheng. Since the parking lot incident, he finally seemed to have quieted down. Heard he took on a film shop deep in remote mountains, the kind where you're out of contact for half a year. The latter half of the celebration was a dance. Song Sinian led me in a waltz. His steps were skilled, his lead sure. I barely kept up, relying entirely on his subtle support to steady me. Not bad. He praised softly. Fine light dancing in his eyes. Mainly because the teacher leads well. Looking at his nearby collar, I suddenly remembered something that had been on my mind for a long time, but never found the right moment to ask. The music was gentle, the lighting dreamy, the atmosphere perfect. I leaned closer, my voice barely audible. Song Sinian, I have a question. You have to answer honestly. Why do you prefer pink underwear over grey, black or blue? I asked. The ultimate mystery that had puzzled me since our first meeting. Song Sinian's step faltered almost imperceptibly before resuming. He looked down at me, his eyes deep, the corners of his mouth curving into a half-smile. Really want to know? Desperately. My gaze was firm. This was about exploring his hidden personality. He led me into a turn, putting our backs to most of the crowd, then bent his head slightly, his lips almost touching my ear. Warm breath accompanied his low words. Because the first time I saw you, you were dragging your suitcase up that steep slope at the film academy, wearing pink ... athletic shorts. Later, every time I saw pink, I'd inexplicably remember how sunny it was that day, how fair your legs were, your sweat-damp hair sticking to your neck, and you turning back to smile at Lin Yecheng, who was helping you with the suitcase. After that, it became a habit. Found pink. Quite pleasing. The music still flowed, our feet still moved, but I felt like I'd been paused, flushing from the tips of my ears all the way down my neck. So, it wasn't some special fetish, not some girlish heart. The origin was actually ... knee. You ... I was speechless, but he laughed. Not his usual faint or teasing smile, but a genuinely joyful one, his eyes crinkling, as if holding all the starlight of the night. Is this answer satisfactory, Miss Jiang? I stewed for a moment, burying my burning face into the crook of his shoulder, my voice muffled. Song Sinian, you're a deeply hidden ... pervert. His chest shook with a low, husky laugh. Only for you. The dance ended. Applause sounded. He led me to the terrace. The night breeze was cool, dissipating some of the heat on my face. Below us, the city lights sparkled like an inverted galaxy. Jiang Yan. He suddenly called me by my full name. What? I was still reeling from the shock of I and the origin of the pink, my tone less than sweet. He took a small box from his suit's inner pocket. Not a square ring box, but a slender velvet one. Anniversary gift. I took it and opened it. Inside lay a necklace. The pendant wasn't a diamond or jewel, but a small, slightly old, even slightly chipped ... coin. I froze. The coin from the wishing well. I fished it out later. His tone was casual, as if he hadn't jumped into the wishing well to retrieve a coin, but simply went downstairs for a newspaper. Had it treated, sealed. Won't oxidize. I picked up the coin necklace. The cool metal against my palm felt warm. Moonlight and distant lights reflected on it, flowing with a soft luster. I could vaguely make out the blurred pattern, the one I'd casually tossed in. You ... double quotes, my throat tightened. When did you fish it out? That well is so deep ... double quotes. The day after you left. He helped me put it on. The cool pendant touched the skin below my collarbone. Always felt your wish was still inside. Had to keep it safe. I touched the coin, my vision blurring slightly. I remembered that somewhat absurd night in Buking, closing my eyes, silently reciting that bold wish. waking up to find him beside me the next morning. The chaotic yet strangely sweet days of being bound together. So, is the curse really broken? I looked up at him. Since you've never suddenly appeared in my bed again. Song Sinian raised an eyebrow. What, Miss Jiang misses it? Huh? I hit him. He laughed, catching my hand. Granny Jiang told me later, it wasn't a curse. The fate was too strong. The wishing well couldn't contain it, and had to give it a push. Once the two people come together on their own, its task is complete. The wishing well was our Cupid. You could say that. He nodded, then added leisurely. However, if you miss my sudden appearances, tonight, when we get home, I can consider as appropriate fulfilling your wish. Song Sinian. I was both embarrassed and indignant. That he suddenly dropped the teasing expression, looking at me seriously, his fingers gently stroking the coin necklace between my collarbones. Jiang Yan. What now? Your wish, he paused, his voice especially clear and solemn in the night breeze. I received it, and overfulfilled it. I didn't understand immediately. Overfulfilled how? He bent down, kissed my forehead, then the tip of my nose, finally landing softly on my lips. A gentle lingering kiss, devoid of lust, only treasuring. You only wished to sleep with me back then. He drew back slightly, forehead against mine, sharing breath, amusement twinkling in his eyes. But now, and for a very long time to come, what you get is Song Sinian, the whole person. From body to heart, all are yours. The night breeze seemed to still. The city's distant clamor faded. The world felt like it held only the two of us, and the cool coin pressed against my heart, bearing all the wonderful origins and completion. I blinked, forcing back the rising moisture, and smiled my biggest smile, reaching up to wrap my arms around his neck. Well then, Boss Song, I imitated his tone from behind the homestay counter, drawing out the words. Please take care of me from now on. He wrapped his arms around my waist, pulling me into an embrace, his laughter mingling with the sound of his heartbeat. Likewise, Mrs. Song. The end.